Hello, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Today, we are talking about those who abuse. We are revisiting this topic because 'tis the season, the holidays are coming, and what better way for some evil individuals to get their needs met is by force. Whether it is nonverbal communication or verbal communication, complete with insults, disrespect, lies, cover-ups. There are those individuals who they know full well that force didn't work last year or last week or last month, right? So they're going to be charming. They're going to be manipulative. They're going to be deceptive. They're going to sweet talk folks into doing for them, whether it is buying gifts, going to a trip far away from family because they don't want to deal with their victim's family, because the family may have already suspected that Jane Doe or John Doe is involved with an evil partner, selfish, a bit strange, weird. There are those sides to the individual who has the mean-spiritedness, but yet so nice. I get so sick of hearing people say that. Oh, but he's so nice. He would never hurt you. He wouldn't disrespect you. Is he punching you? Is he kicking you? Is he doing anything like that? Well, then come on now. Once again, we got to bring light to emotional abuse. People who will even use the methods that we're told to use when it comes to dealing with narcissists. They'll use a gray rock method. Act as if they're not there. Act as if they don't see you or hear you. They're not available to you emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, nothing. Shut down, shut out until you behave, until you bring me the type of behavior that I like. This is how I'm going to treat you. And if you are the one who says, I'm going crazy in this relationship, I don't understand what is going on, why he does this or why she acts this way, you're told, but is he or is she punching you, kicking you, starving you, raping you? I mean, then it's not so bad. Yes, we still got people in this world that even though they've gone through as much as they've gone through, they will still say, why don't you just be grateful? Why don't you two just go to church? Why don't you two get some counseling? But it's not me. I'm not the one that needs the help. I don't need to be on the prescription medicine. I'm telling you that this person is troubled in mind, body, and spirit. Can we do something to help, to get out of, to push this person away? I mean, everybody's in an interesting situation. So, those who are victims, those who have gotten out, your situation is freedom. Your situation is peace of mind. Come on. It was God's mercy that got you out. I came across this article by John G. Taylor, MA, on Psychology Today about domestic violence, behind the veil inside the mind of men who abuse domestic violence and unmasking the terror of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Okay. And they do live double lives. Okay. Even the families don't even have a clue. Oh, I've known him ever since he was little. You haven't been living with him on a regular basis, seeing all sides to this individual. And even if those folks have been around them, he can easily move his personality, his behaviors, mean-spiritedness elsewhere, and then come back and be all smiles. Come on, right? Some of you have reached out to me over the years and told me, simply put, that you were in a situation like this and had to be out of it quick, fast, and in a hurry before you incurred any more abuse. Okay. Some of you said you listened to the audio messages and it gave you the power, it gave you the strength to get out, to finally make up your mind that I'm done. I might be poor, broke, busted, and disgusted on my way out, but I'm so over this thing. Hallelujah. Thank you, Lord Jesus. So we understand that domestic violence or abuse just in general, it involves some type of behavior, okay, that rattles a person's soul, that, hurts them in some way. Domestic violence, according to the article, happens when a partner physically, verbally, emotionally, and sexually abuses their intimate partner by exerting power and control over them. They feed on that power and control. Abusers do. The idea that I have control over this individual, that he or she is going to show up and do for me, that he or she is going to watch what he or she says to me, or else that if I say jump, she gonna say how high. If I tell her not to do something, she is not going to do it. You see, power and control, they feed off of this. It's familiar to them because chances are they saw their mother or they saw their father acting very powerful, very controlling, and they saw a smile possibly come over that parent's face when everybody was beaten by the abuser's drum. So, I guess there's something right about this. I guess that, I can be able to have that type of relationship later on in life too. And if they're still talking to these abusive people, they're still getting some type of wisdom, insight, whatever they want to call it, and they're taking what they've learned and putting it in their current relationship. No wonder it looks a lot like what they went through back in the day. And until an abuser wakes up and says, enough is enough, and I'm not going to keep going through this, I'm not going to keep putting my wife or putting my husband through this mess, until they wake up, they're going to continue to get away with it. And if you are that one that's a victim and you're always doing for him or always doing for her, even though they're being abusive to you, then you're basically saying it's okay. It's okay to be disrespected. Okay. And we know better. God did not put us on this planet to be disrespected. Okay. To be mistreated, to be hurt in any way. Domestic violence occurs in all cultures, races, religions, classes, as well as same-sex relationships. We still got some folks who's quite ignorant who think that it only happens to this particular ethnicity until they get hit upside the head or until they are stonewalled. Okay. And until financial abuse happens to them or until spiritual abuse. Oh, I guess it isn't just those people over there who are poor or who are, coming from this particular state or city or whatever. Oh, yeah. It hits everyone at some point in their lives. Okay. Whether you are physically hurt or you witness it. Because you could be just walking down the street, never experienced any of that. Your mother, your father, they were great to one another, what have you. You walking down the street and you see some man going off the deep end. I remember I'm just driving, minding my own business a couple years ago. And who do I see in the middle of the street? A female trying to get away from this male. And then I looked and she was tied up on something and he was trying to get her out the street because she wanted to evidently kill herself. But I was driving slow enough, and that's what you need to do going through neighborhood streets, because you never know who's going to jump out a bush or out an alleyway or off a sidewalk. I was driving slow enough that I didn't have to hit my brakes, and he was able to get her out the street. But what happened for her to be pulling away like that? What happened for her to even be drunk or on drugs or what have you? And of course, when they see that you see them, they're going to put on that act of care. Okay. Of, oh, it's no big deal. It's all right. I mean, she's just a little whatever, you see. People make up excuses. They'll come up with all sorts of ways to cover up the evil that's within and the evil that they have committed on others. And some of you family members are so naive and you'll believe anything that your beloved says because what? You don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to put him in jail. You don't believe that he will be capable of. But I'm here to tell you that anytime a man got a long track record of being with different women and he's been exposed to violence in the household, and he at some point has even been disrespectful towards you, what makes you think he's not going to be that way to his partner or to other people? Maybe not to his partner. He could be that way with a lover. He could be that way with co-workers. He could be that way with friends that just didn't want to say too much. And so that's why they distance themselves from him or from her. Okay. I always add that in there because I'm the one who wrote She's Crazy. So I already know that there are those who will not hesitate to be very abusive to partners. Now, in the article, it says that we find that domestic violence is perpetuated by men and women. 95% of reported domestic violence cases are men abusing women, and 5% of reported domestic violence cases are women abusing men. And I think that number is most likely higher, but because of men who have ego, who don't want to deal with the fact that they're being abused, they just won't report the women. National stats: every 12 seconds, a woman is abused by her intimate partner in the U.S. Did you hear that? Every 12 seconds. So if you were to take a moment and count to 12, there was already a woman who's been abused. Okay. 37% of pregnant women are battered during pregnancy, including blows to the abdomen. And then you wonder why some of these kids look the way they look. Why they, come out having all sorts of health ailments. Okay. All that stress that they've had to undergo. That mother yelling, the father crying or upset or whatever's going on. And that poor baby doesn't even have a real chance in the world because folks are freaking out, going off. And mom never wanted to leave because she wanted to believe his promises that he would never do that again. Lord Jesus. And then, of course, there are more animal shelters than there are shelters for victims of domestic violence in the U.S. So people care in general more about a pet than they do a human being. So they make sure them shelters go up for them dogs. But we need more and more shelters out there for men and women who are trying to get out of relationships of abuse and not stacking them like sardines in some building somewhere with paper thin walls, or having all of them on cots in a large room somewhere where there's hardly no privacy. Jesus. The cycle of violence, phase 1, there's the tension building. I personally experienced this, and not only that, I had also been a witness to this sort of thing. There's tension building. There's something in the atmosphere that's off. You're walking on eggshells. You want to be on your best behavior because you don't know when that axe is going to fall. Okay? So there's tension building. Usually there's tension building within the batterer, and there's usually an argument. So whether that argument is loud or whether that argument is low, okay, the point is that there's an argument in the next room, or there's an argument that you're a part of. And now you're looking at hands, and you're looking at eyes, and you're looking all around you to see if this is going to blow up into something more. Okay. And for some people, they're bold enough to want to put their hands on you. And so now you're put in a position where now you got to defend yourself. Or they're not bold enough to put their hands, but they're being threatening. So now they're in your face. And it's almost as if they're trying to provoke you to do something. Come on now. I wasn't born yesterday. And like I said, I've been through my share of experiences. Phase 2, explosion, where the assault happens. He or she may have been going through a whole lot with you or with someone else, and they come home and they're mad and there's an argument, and I'm gonna get you for old and new, and now he's reaching out for her throat, or he's drawing his fist back, or he's shoving her in the chest, or he's getting up in her face so close that spit is falling on her face, or he's grabbing at her arm and saying, you don't go nowhere until I'm finished talking to you. Okay. Phase 3, the honeymoon. The abuser apologizes for his behavior, buying the victim gifts or flowers. Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do this. I don't know what come over me. Please forgive me. You know that we're good for each other. Come on. I heard a lot of that foolishness. The cycle of violence will not end until one partner leaves or seeks treatment. So this sort of thing continues when it is violent. It may take a break for a while, the evil within takes a break for a while, goes into hiding, and then comes back around. Now, I want to say that the cycle of emotional abuse, it starts off where there's the name calling, or there's someone just stonewalling you, doesn't want to talk to you, doesn't want to, say too much. And it goes on for days, weeks, months. And then there's an explosion of some sort. If you're the victim, you've had enough of this. We're going to have this conversation because I'm sick of you treating me this way. Why are you acting this way? And the person still plays that game. Now, if you got a violent side or been exposed to violence, okay, what are you going to do? You're going to start thinking violently. Come on, because you don't like the fact that this person is behaving in this way. Now, if that's your situation, you already know you're going to have to, come up with an exit plan, because you don't want to be the abuser, right? You don't want to be led into the cycle of violence because somebody wants to be a brat, wants to be, that one that I'm not talking to you because you hurt me, because you did this and that. See? So for some of you all, you already know how it goes, and you've been in this for a while and you're tired of it. And so if you're really tired, you're going to go ahead and you're going to make the effort to leave. Okay. Now, according to the article, Taylor says that there are 5 types of abuse. Okay. And I talked about one of them already, emotional playing, mind games. Okay, that emotional abuse, playing the mind games. Let me see what I can do to get her to conform. Let me see what I can do to make her want to act in a way that I feel she should act. And so the psychological games begin. Now, if you go and you talk to somebody about this sort of thing and they're not familiar with emotional abuse, they're going to say, that doesn't sound like abuse to me, that this person is just ignoring you, or they don't want to have sex with you, or they're not touching you, or they're not talking to you. No, that just seems like they're just having a bad day. No, this sort of thing isn't a bad day. This is weeks and weeks of this foolishness. It's months and months of it. Okay. You are in the doghouse, so to speak. It's like the man who gets sent to the couch because, once again, he cheated on his woman. Okay. So she says, I don't want anything to do with you because you cheated on me. So she decides that in order for him to learn a powerful lesson on cheating, for cheating on her, she decides that she's not going to do anything for him. She's not going to, talk to him. She's not going to have sex with him or anything else. And she may have been doing that before he decided to cheat. Every time he did a bad thing, okay, I'm not going to have sex. Well, eventually this man, hey, he's going to go out. He's going to do what he wants to do then, because she has played this psychological game of, I got power over my you-know-what, and this is what I'm going to do. Okay. Then he plays the game of, yeah, you ain't got that much power because there's plenty of other women that I can be involved with. You see, then there's this tension, this buildup, and everybody blows up one day. And now somebody's getting physical. She's slapping him because I can't stand the fact that you did this to me. And he's, choking her because you ain't going to put your hands on me. Okay. That sort of thing can play out. And you don't even see the violence coming. You're just thinking that this is what I'm going to do, right? And you don't see the connection that the emotional abuse plays into the physical abuse sooner or later. Remember that tension building? The tension building got there because some folks started behaving in ways that they shouldn't have behaved. And now folks don't want to communicate. They want to just all out fight. Verbal name calling, come on. Some of you all, that was a trigger for you. The reason why you did what you did. And we won't get into all of that. But for some of you all, you know what you did. I know what I did years ago. You gonna call me a what? I didn't sit kindly. I didn't, go about my business. You see. And if the person does this on a repeated basis, it is going to eventually lead you into violence, because you're not going to keep playing that game of, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to call you this and that. No. Or if you're smart and you don't want to go to jail, or you don't want to end up in court one day, what you're going to do is you're just going to simply let that person go. You know what? The stuff that comes out your mouth is bringing out a side to me. And that's, is going to cause me to do something I don't have any business doing. So it's just best that you go your way, I go mine. Another type of abuse, Taylor talks about technological, GPS tracking, Facebook sabotaging. So you got individuals who, they have these devices, pay for these devices, allow certain things to take place on the internet, but all the while watching what you're doing. So when she says that she's not cheating, he knows full well she's not cheating because he got access to all of her information. Okay. Or if he says, look, I'm doing the best that I can, I'm trying to do right. Yeah, she knows that he's trying to do right because she's got access to all his social media, you see. But when they're doing wrong, Lord Jesus, there is going to be some type of fallout at some point. If that one sitting up there saying, oh no, I'm good, I told the truth, and I'm taking care of the bills, and I'm not looking at women and all that other stuff, and she finds out something else, all hell gonna break loose, you see. That's why you don't get yourself involved with somebody that is that type, who told you from the door that they're that type. You just don't do it, because there is going to be that day that shows up, the day of reckoning, or days. Point 4, once again, 5 types of abuse: sexual, forcing sex while partners asleep, or basing sex on the Bible, because you got those who are very spiritual, okay, very religious, to be more specific. They're hypocrites, and they'll start pulling out scripture just to get you to do some very evil, dark, ugly things that are sexual. And then, as I mentioned earlier, there are those who they just simply withdraw sex because they learned from their abusive partners in the past. Okay, well, I just won't be physical. Okay, well, then you're going to push her in a direction that you shouldn't, or you're going to push him in a direction. You see, that game does not work. I'm telling you, it really doesn't. A person's only going to deal with that, but for so long. And then after a while, they're just going to say, you know what, there's too many other people out here to be playing this silly little game with you. And besides, you're not all that, right? Woo, Jesus. So then there's the physical harm, such as punching, choking, and even murder. Okay. This is where things hit the apex. In the past, I've referenced a particular relationship I was in. Things hit an apex. There was the mind games that was being played. There was the verbal name calling. At that time, we didn't have technological tracking devices and all that. And there definitely wasn't no Facebook. But there was the pagers that would go off, right? Who's that? What she want? Yeah, I know it's a woman, or I know it's a man, or whatever, you see. And then, of course, there's the sexual, you going to give me, I'm not in no condition, or I don't feel like it. No, you going to do, you owe me, or whatever, okay? Or there's nothing at all that happens. And then eventually folks get just, once again, tired, and they start punching, and they start kicking, and they choke, and they spit, and they kick, and they just go off the deep end, and they lose it, and the next thing you know, somebody is murdered. Okay. Do you want blood on your hands? Some of you all who have been around and around, do you want blood on your hands? God, He's only going to give you but so much time to get out before He says, okay, that's it. You think that you know so much. You think that you can be able to deal with this person. I'm telling you that this person needs a counselor. This person needs a psychologist. This person needs a doctor. Their issues are too big for you. You are not a counselor. And some folks, they are counselors, and they think that they can manage a situation. They can control a situation. And I will tell you that in one situation, and it wasn't a relationship, it was just simply a nurse who she called herself trying to counsel a person. And I walked by the window, and that counseling, the verbal counseling, went out the window. I literally walked by the window, and her verbal counseling did nothing. Next thing you know, that man was up in her face and being threatening, and being that she had some self-defense training, she was able to snatch him up and put him in a bear grip quickly. Okay. you got people who they just get triggered, right? And even those who have professional counseling and those who may be knowledgeable on some self-defense, it don't always work. One individual told me that a violent person who she decided to help, okay, because there are those who are what you call host home providers, decided to help, had a long history of being violent. One day, her verbal talk did not go over so well. He was having a moment, and he ended up breaking a couple of her ribs. Okay, trained on dealing with some of the most violent types of folks, but she ended up suffering for a long time behind that. So, these abusive folks, once again, they're showing the signs, they're acting in bizarre ways, they're being threatening, there's tension building up, there's emotional abuse, or there's nonverbal abuse, there's something that's happening, and that is why there is the need to want to get away. For those of you all who have behaved this way, the victim is not going to stay. And yes, he or she is a victim when you have acted in these ways. So the profile of an abuser, for those of you all who are still dating individuals, even though they've showed you that they got a dark side, jealousy is always a telltale. And they know that jealousy is not a good trait. Okay, they know it. So for some of them, they hide the jealousy. It's not always right there for you to see. Okay, we know typical jealousy of the one who questions where you going, who you going with, when you going to be back, that sort of thing. But there's the hidden jealousy that I got to bring up, where that person is not going to ask you too much of anything, but their eyes and their demeanor and their walking away. There it is. Jealousy showed up. You talked about this man. Okay. Jealousy showed up. They're real quiet because you're bringing up topics about the ex. They don't have much to say to you because they're jealous of something that you did recently, or something that makes you feel good, or someone that you met, or you're part of some group or some class. And when you ask them, hey, how's things? All before they were okay, until these new things happened in your life. Now they barely want to speak to you. Eye rolls, deep sighs, looking away, no eye contact. Okay, so jealousy isn't always showing up with somebody questioning your whereabouts, or jealous because you're spending time somewhere else. The abuser has some controlling behaviors, right? According to the article, the victim cannot get a job or leave the house or bathe without permission. Okay, sometimes the controlling behavior doesn't look like this. Sometimes the controlling behavior is, oh, you got the job, but you going to spend some money. You going to take care of this. You going to do that for me, Sometimes the controlling behavior is, oh yeah, you can leave the house, but you better make sure that you are back in this house at X time, and as far as, controlling your eating, your drinking, your bathing, basic hygiene. Oh no, you can do all of that for me. You could do that, but just make sure though that you're not out there, doing all that for somebody else. What you talking about? I'm not even seeing anybody else. Well, let's just make sure that you're not. See, accusations that are invalid. And that's part of the control, because if you don't want to be accused of something, who does? And you don't want to be lied on or anything like that, you're going to make sure that you show up on time, make sure that you aren't spending time with this one and that one because he said, don't be spending too much time with so-and-so. You see, whether it's your mother, father, sister, brother, abusers don't care. Isolation. They move you away from the family and friends. And if they can't move away too far, they will find a way to psychologically move you away from your family and friends. Now you're talking about you don't want to spend time with your mother. You're talking about you don't want to spend time with your sister, or your brother, or whoever. You're talking about how, this person makes you mad and they're negative and they bring up topics. The abuser brings up topics that you say, yeah, that's right. And so the next thing you know, you're not spending the time with your people. Now, it's one thing that you don't spend time with your people or was distant from your people way before you met that person. That's different. But when you were real close, real tight with them, and then you begin to just isolate yourself, and that's because that person got your mind. And then, of course, forcing sex, right? Or, as I said before, lacking intimacy with you. And they always got a reason, got an excuse or what have you. And then there's, of course, those rigid gender roles, according to the article. The partner's job is to cater to the abuser, right? Because we don't want them upset. We don't want her crying hysterically and having a fit. We don't want them going back and talking to the family about us. So, okay, let me make sure that I'm the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker, that I'm the good wife or the good husband, because I don't want, them to think otherwise. And it's always about what the abuser wants. The abuser wants to move. You're on board. The abuser wants to do something different. You say, okay, but bring up something you want to do. And the abuser goes, oh no, I don't feel like it, or that's not my cup of tea, or that's boring, or that's dull, shutting everything you suggest down. Oh yes, I've been around my share. So, men as well as women who are abusive, they're not stupid individuals. Oh, they're clever, they're smart, and they're very charming. The article validates that. Most of these men have a personality that draws people in. He is adept at charming, deceiving, and manipulating. When a victim reports an assault, she's not easily believed because what do people say? Oh no, he would never do that, right? Not him. He's so nice. You are so lucky. These abusers, they know how to get people to buy into their deceitful ways, okay? And meanwhile, the victim has no support. Because he gives me money. He calls me. I know my brother. I know my sister. She would never, okay? But they got the Jekyll and Hyde. They're not going to act abusive around you. They're not going to say that just the other day I said this or I did that, or I've been keeping my wife or my husband far back for how many days, weeks, and months, and I haven't had nothing to say to him, but I got all the conversation for you, and I love you and I care for you. You really think they're going to talk about all of the things that they don't do? Okay? How they're not available emotionally, physically, sexually, spiritually, nothing. And like I said, the telltale sign for a lot of you all, look at how much time they spend on social media, because abusers, they like attention. And look at all of the comments and the likes and everything. And look at some of those websites that you can see login times and so forth. And how long they stay up, how long they're active. They got to put on a front. They got to put on airs. They don't want folks to know what they're really about, especially if they got plans on seeing a new person, or they've been luring some of these women in with all their little text messages and emails and pretty little images and little gifts in the mail and whatever else. They don't want you to know the truth. These men, as well as women, got a long history of being evil. Talk to their exes, talk to their current wives, talk to their current husbands or whatever else. Jesus. So there is a diagnosis for people like this. The disorders, according to the article, is antisocial personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder. If they would humble themselves and get checked out, they would fall in one of these three disorders. Okay? Antisocial types of people, I've been around my share. They are very tricky, sneaky, deceitful, clever. They do a lot of lying. Okay, they lie through their teeth. And they will use all sorts of aliases. They'll con others. They'll persuade you into doing for them for selfish gain. Okay, these sorts of people also aren't one for revealing too much about themselves. They consider themselves to be very private. So you got to do digging in order to find out about their dark side. Because sometimes it's not easily out there when you spend time talking to them and so forth. Borderline personality disorder. That's a pattern of unstable and intense interpersonal relationships by alternating between extreme idealizations and devaluation. That one can be a bit complicated to pick up on, because once again, folks do know how, abusers know how to mirror other people's behaviors. They'll pick an ideal person from a movie or from, just talking with people to emulate. They know how to mirror folks. That's how you possibly got involved with this individual, was that he became your ideal partner. He mirrored some of the, behaviors of you. And quite naturally, you thought that person was a decent person, good person, because, hey, he reminded me of somebody. Yeah, he pretended to act like you, to like the same things that you like, to be that person that you always wanted to be with. He got information from you via the internet on what you like and what you don't like, and he worked real hard to be that individual. Narcissistic personality disorder. This is a common one anymore. That's that grandiose sense of self-importance. I think Facebook has become this place where narcissists gather. It's like a club, if you will, online for narcissists to just share everything and anything, or to be stalkers and look at each other and then emulate the lifestyle in reality that others have. Okay, because it feeds them to be the best and to look the best and to appear like they're, everything that you've always wanted. They think they are important, and they want people to bow down, so to speak, to the way they behave and act and all of that. If you know someone who is in a relationship that has all the signs that it is definitely one of domestic violence, you can call the National DV hotline, 1-800-799-SAFE 7233. Okay, 1-800-799-7233. And if you're that victim, you will be, you will receive counseling, and you will receive information on how to get out of an abusive relationship. If you know someone, you'll most likely get some resources on what you can do to help. And you'll also be cautioned on what you don't want to do as well. So that is it for today. Once again, revisiting this topic. 'Tis the season. Folks are going to show out. They always do, nearing a holiday, during a holiday, and definitely after a holiday, or holidays. So you don't want to be that one going into the new year caught up in some more foolishness, dealing with somebody's partner or dealing with your own who's abusive. God bless you. Take care. Please do check the description box for anything that is of interest. You've been listening to YouTube, NM Enterprise 7. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment. Blessings to you.